Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Christina. I am a real estate agent and investor out of Phoenix, Arizona. This is my first year in real estate, my first year in business, and my first year as an entrepreneur. So on this channel, we are covering all of the things that come with that, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. Guys, I did not want to show up to YouTube this week. I'm not going to lie. I made a promise to myself that I would show up once a week on YouTube on Mondays for the entire year. And this video is probably not going to be posted on Monday. It's probably going to be posted more like Wednesday. But I wanted to address this in my video because I know that there's some people who maybe are following my content creation journey and that side of my social media presence. And I wanted to say outright that if you are somebody who is also on a content creation journey, the parameters that you set for yourself, but do not spiral out of control if you miss them. I'm still showing up this week. I'm still going to show up next week, and I'm going to have an on-time video next week. But I think that it's very, very easy to fall off one week, especially with something like YouTube, and to just spiral and to not post anything ever again. That is probably more typical than not in the YouTube world, right? So I am addressing this also because I have a very small audience and I want people to get into the rhythm of expecting videos from me at a certain time of the week, but they can't do that if I'm not delivering that. So I am giving myself grace for being late this week, but I am also not letting myself get away with excuses. So today I really want to talk about the importance of having a personal routine when you are doing something like starting a business, and why it is so important for you to have your own outlets, your own creative outlets, and your own things that allow you to, exercise creativity, but also progress yourself forward in other ways that have nothing to do with business, because ultimately that is going to bleed into other areas of your life. No matter how you are treating yourself behind closed doors, that is going to show on the outside and when you're around other people. And so I just think that having a personal routine, having personal outlets, and a way to always get back to you is not only important, but I would argue essential if you are going to do something like this. A lot of people will tell you what your personal routine has to consist of, right? I am someone who really loves to work out and lift weights. I am somebody who really likes to work on meditation, and I've always been a writer ever since I was a child. So those three things are all creative outlets for me. Meditation is probably the newest, because I will say that I've had a journey when it comes to meditation, and I've definitely gone through my phases of not even believing it worked and all of that. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I think that not everybody likes these things, and I am gonna say up front that I don't care what it is you do for your personal routine. I don't care what it is that you like to do as your creative outlet. All that matters is that you have one. When you are in the beginning phases of starting any business, you need a place to debrief. And a lot of the time, especially when we go looking for things like, mentors and community, we are wanting to debrief with other people, which makes sense because we want to brush up on our skills. We want to find ways to improve. And we want to seek advice from those who are ahead of us. So that makes a lot of sense. It is important to have that external accountability. However, I believe that it is so important for us to all have something inside of us, like intrinsic accountability, that we are always holding ourselves accountable, that we are self correcting, and that we are analyzing our own behavior, like I've said in previous videos, on top of the work that others are doing with and for us. And so I do believe that it is so important for us to have at least one thing that is ours, that we can do alone, that we don't need to talk to anybody, we don't need to ask anybody anything. It is our thing that we can do in solitude. The thing that is huge in my personal journey is getting up really early in the morning, you guys. I know this is a topic, especially if you're on Twitter like I am. I love Twitter. And a debate for the last couple months that I've seen on my Twitter feed kind of regurgitated about waking up early in the morning. And here is my take on this. 4 or 5 a.m. club. I don't believe that waking up at any time of the day or not waking up at any time of the day is going to put you ahead or make you more or less successful than anybody else. And the reason that I believe this is because I know plenty of very successful people who don't get out of bed until 10 a.m. or don't start their day until 11 or 12. And I have just been shown through proof of concept and through, meeting different people who have different styles and agendas and schedules that you can make this work no matter what time you get up in the morning. However, waking up at 5 a.m. every day, day in and day out, is intentional, it's difficult, and it is an act of discipline. Okay? That is what I will say getting up in the morning is. Are there other acts of discipline that you can apply in your life? Yes, there is. However, I think that getting up early in the morning is one of the best. It has worked for me really, really well, and I know it has worked for others the same. Just the way that we operate as human beings are fresh when we get up in the morning. I don't know about anybody else, but because I have another job, it is really, really helpful for me to start my day really early, get a couple hours of work in my business done before I go to my job. And I really do, like with other habits that I've created in my life, get a heightened sense of accomplishment when it is 8 a.m. and my day started 4 hours ago. And then you go out into the world, especially in the corporate world, and you look around and you can tell that everybody else's day did not start 4 hours ago. And so, all factors considered, I'm going to keep getting up at 4 or 5 a.m. Discipline is something that can be developed, just like confidence is something that can be developed, guys. I think this is very important to understand. A lot of people, maybe when they're lacking in discipline or in confidence or in these other characteristics and traits of successful people, they look at people that do have these things and they say, they have that and I don't. They were born with that and I wasn't, right? And that is not true. That is not true at all. Do people have varying levels of confidence naturally? Sure. Does every confident person get insecure? Yes. Does every confident person have doubts? Yes. So this is a practice, you guys, and that's why it's so important for us to, one, recognize that, and two, to develop habits in our lifestyle that reflect that. Let me touch quickly on meditation. So I said earlier that I have been someone for the last few years, or maybe for the last decade, who has tried to meditate at different points in my life for different reasons. And it wasn't until I started treating meditation like an actual practice that I really started to see the benefits of it. And what do I mean by this? You're not going to have insight every single day when you meditate. You are not going to have new revelations or come draw new conclusions or even feel good after you meditate every single day. And it's really the accumulation of the practice of doing so that where you start to see the benefits, and the act of doing it every single day in today's society, especially. Just the eliminating the sensory overload for even a few minutes, closing your eyes, not touching your phone, not touching anything, not even going for a sip of water. Practicing that stillness is so, so important. I think more so in today's day and age of all of this blue light bullshit, okay? Speaking of blue light bullshit, I think, and this is again just my opinion, I think that it is so, so important for us human beings to practice reading and writing every day. And I say this because we are literally constantly every single day, some of us for 8 to 10, 11, 12 hours a day, staring at these little attention sucking blue light boxes that are our cell phones. And we're typing everything, we're straining our eyes to read everything. Again, we all know that there are detrimental effects to blue light. And so that practice of, again, intentionally writing words on paper or reading your eyes, reading words on paper instead of reading words on a phone, makes a huge difference. And I have seen people, compare audiobooks or Kindles to actually reading physical books. And personally, I don't know. I don't think it's the same thing. And I try to steer away from audiobooks and buying books digitally, and always will try to read books hard copy. And actually doing 75 hard, which is definitely on my list of things to discuss, because I actually don't think that I can talk about the last year of my life and how I have developed mentally and emotionally without talking about 75 hard. So I will talk about that program in another video in depth. However, at this point, I think it's a little bit more mainstream, more popular, and most people are familiar with it. One of the requirements of that program is to read 10 pages every single day. And that is not a lot, but it gets you into the habit of reading every single day. And that is exactly where I got that habit, where I picked that habit up from. I really like to read. I always have liked to read. I'm a little bit of a research nerd and like to look into things and like to kind of dig deep and form my own opinions on things. And so I do a lot of reading in general, but I wanted to get into a habit of doing it every single day for all of the reasons that I've talked about. And that program is what kind of got me to do it. When it comes to writing, I think that it's super important for us to see our goals on paper, like in our own handwriting. I don't know what the psychology behind it is. I'm sure there is psychology behind it. One of these days, maybe I'll remix this video and actually put some like hardcore psychology behind this into the video, because I'm sure it's out there. But just seeing our goals on paper, taking time to write out tasks lists, I think there's a lot to be said for writing down what you are going to do in the morning. And reflection at night. So even if, reflection on the tasks that you didn't get done or the tasks that need to get done first tomorrow, or, how much you did or didn't get done and how that's making you feel. And even if you're just writing down a couple sentences and getting that out of your head, because I don't know about anybody that's watching this, but with myself, I if I don't do this, I'll keep it all in my head until I explode. And so it is so important for me to be brain dumping often. And like I said, guys, these are the habits that I have created in my life that I believe are spilling into other areas of my life naturally. And I want to talk about this and bring awareness to this so that you can do whatever this means for you. Whole theme of this channel always will be do what's best for you. Do plan to remake a lot of these earlier videos eventually, because I'm sure that my thoughts will develop on all of these topics. But I am going so slow and talking about all of these mindset related aspects of entrepreneurship because I don't believe that you can ignore them. What I have observed, exposing myself to the business world for the last few months, is that these things can go overlooked very easily. And it's so important to stay grounded. You may or may not be able to tell by kind of the direction that this channel is going so far. But these grounding things, these very ground level concepts that really don't have anything to do with business just yet are really the framework, especially for young entrepreneurs, especially with all of the technology and information that we're inundated with, especially with the unconditioning that has to happen, that comes along with this lifestyle. You really do have to be prepared to challenge everything you have ever known and everything you have ever believed, especially if this is something that you are doing for the first time. If nobody in your family has ever owned a business or been an entrepreneur, and this is a journey that you are embarking on by yourself, maybe not entirely by yourself, but maybe sometimes it feels like it. It's so important for you to have healthy escapes. You're going to have escapes whether they're healthy or not. And so I think it's so important in the beginning of your journey for you to establish healthy ones. Because if you don't, and you don't stay grounded in the beginning, you may have success in business, but you're going to be looking for an outlet. You're going to be looking for an outlet eventually. And I think the secret is that good habits are actually a lot harder to create than bad habits. And maybe not a secret so much, but when you think about just how many thoughts we have a day, how many of those thoughts are repeating, and how many of those thoughts are negative, it's so much easier for us to get trapped in negative loops than it is for us to thrive in positive ones. And I think that is really important to keep in mind when you are willingly and knowingly throwing yourself into a lifestyle that is going to come with a lot of stress, a lot of problems, a lot of people looking to you for answers, and really one that's going to be ongoing and going to require ongoing development from you professionally and personally. And so that is why I will always emphasize these things before anything else, before I talk about anything else. So that is what I have for you guys for this week. Like I said, I know I'm a little bit late this week. I do have a lot of things going on. That is not an excuse. It will never be an excuse. You guys will get a video on time next week, which means I'm doing 2 this week. So stay tuned for that. I will be back on Monday of next week, not on Wednesday, and we will keep it going.